Several weeks ago, I asked for your questions on social media. I asked you to tag them as asksnapchick, so here I am answering them. Actually, this is part 2 of the questions. Last time I answered all of the non-gear related questions, and you can see that video at the link up above, but you all asked so many gear related questions that I have to split them up into 2 more parts. So this video is part 2, and part 3 will be coming soon. So let's get to answering. So the first question is from Bob. Bob says, you talk a lot about gearing up for the week. I admire your gear. I am shooting with a very old DSLR, want to upgrade, but how do I make sure how to gear up for the future? ASPC versus full frame, Nikon versus Canon. I am 69 years young and very active, love to hike and shoot wildlife. What should I consider? If you could only take 1 camera and 2 lenses, what would they be? Okay, so for the first part, the idea of Nikon versus Canon is totally up to you. They're both great brands. I prefer Nikon, though I also actually have a small Canon setup that I like. Try to get your hands on both in a shop and try them out. Check out the menus, see which one you like better. As for crop sensor versus full frame, again, you could go either way. If you like to shoot wildlife, which I think you like to shoot wildlife, I would consider that a cropped sensor camera will give you more reach at the same focal length, and they're less expensive, and the lenses optimized for them are also less expensive. So yeah, consider that. And then 1 camera and 2 lenses. Well, my answer would change depending upon like what I'm doing and where I'm going and what my goals are. But if I had to choose just 2 right now and like I didn't know, or a body and 2 lenses, and I didn't know what I would be like getting myself into. I really have been digging telephoto lately, so I definitely would need that, and also wide angle, right? So I think I would probably grab my Nikon D500 and the 17 to 55 f2.8 DX lens and the 70 to 200 f2.8 lens. That covers me to like film my videos using manual focus. Covers me for wide angle, covers me for telephoto. It's a little heavy, but you know, that's what I'm choosing right now. Okay, so next I have 3 questions about mirrorless versus DSLR. So I'm going to answer them together. And these are the questions. Number 1 from Darker Creations says, DSLR versus mirrorless. And Ben says, I'm looking to upgrade my D90 to a D500, yay, and I know you own one, but now that the Sony Alpha 7 III has arrived, I'm hesitating. Do you think that the big, bulky, and loud D500 is still a relevant choice? Thanks a lot. I always appreciate your insight. And then Aaron said, Nikon D750 or Sony Alpha 7 II for an all-around camera, landscape, portrait, automotive, and sometimes, but rarely, sports. So DSLR versus mirrorless is a great question. It's what a lot of people are asking these days, and it's kind of what all those questions boiled down to. There is no one right answer, but here are my thoughts. I'm going to start with the Ben and Aaron's questions about a Nikon DSLR versus a Sony mirrorless camera, and then I'll go more broad in terms of DSLR versus mirrorless in general. So first, when deciding between a Nikon DSLR and a Sony mirrorless camera, you're talking about 2 entirely different systems. They're both great. There's a reason that people are buying cameras from both companies. Yes, the technology is different. Yes, the camera features are different depending upon the brand, but that also depends upon which body within each brand. You can take great photos with anything that's on the market right now, though. And that kind of leads me to the broader question of DSLR versus mirrorless. The camera that you choose, it really boils down to how you like to shoot. And the only way that you're truly going to know which choice is right for you is to try them both out, either in a store or by renting each setup if you really want a more like real world experience with each. Let me give you my personal thoughts on this question too, for me and for the way that I use my cameras. If I were starting out today as a photographer, I don't know which system I would choose to build on, I guess. I can say that I currently have a lot of DSLR gear, lots of Nikon, but a little bit of Canon as well. And I also have a small mirrorless system from Nikon, the Nikon 1 system. I've used several other mirrorless options too from different brands. And mirrorless in general, it has come such a long way in terms of autofocus and battery life, which were always like the sticking points for me. But I am not at the point where I'm ready to make the switch. First, I would be building up an entirely new system, which would be super costly. And I still have the issue of actually enjoying using my Nikon DSLRs the most of anything that I've used. The menu system, the button and dial layout, they just make the most sense to me. And I can leave those on and hanging around my neck and not drain the battery life because of an electronic viewfinder staying on, which was an issue for me with the mirrorless options that I've tried. In fact, to save battery life, I had to turn the camera on and then back off every time I wanted to take a photo. And the delay when the camera turns on not only makes me annoyed, but it also kills the spontaneity of some of my shots. For example, when I ran into the bear at Yellowstone, was I seriously gonna turn the camera on, make sure it was on, wait for startup while also juggling my bear spray? I don't know. That extra step just seems like it would prevent me from taking some of the photos that I take. I mean, that being said, if Nikon brought out something new in terms of mirrorless and it worked with like my current collection of lenses, then I would probably start to get more interested. But, like I said, that's just me. I know that many of you out there are passionate about mirrorless being just the best thing ever, and you're crazy if you aren't using it. And I get it, we all like different things. If we all like the same thing, we'd all have the same camera. So anyway, I guess my final answer is that choosing mirrorless versus DSLR isn't just an academic exercise where you can look at specifications. You really should try to get them into your hands and see which one you like. So now on to my next question for And Hicka. I'm not sure if I said that right, I'm sorry. He or she said, instead of buying an expensive full frame camera, I'm thinking of buying a speed booster / lens turbo. What are the trade-offs? Image quality, contrast, vignette, distortion. Well, for those of you that don't know, a speed booster takes a full frame lens onto a crop sensor camera, and it makes the image smaller so that you retain more or less the full field of view, and you also pick up more light, which sounds great, right? But there are drawbacks. The downside is that you are putting more glass between you and the subject, so image quality can be compromised. Also, do your research on whichever one that you're thinking of purchasing, because it may not be as elegant a solution as you imagine. You can lose any or all of the electronic functions, including autofocus, depending on the brand. Honestly though, I don't have a strong opinion either way on these. I guess in keeping with giving you my thoughts and why I have purchased what I've purchased and not purchased what I haven't purchased, is that I don't have a speed booster. And I think that the full frame is great. And if you want to sort of like mimic that by using a speed booster, that's cool. But current generation crop sensor cameras perform in amazing ways, regardless of sensor size. And there are lots of great lenses that are optimized for those crop sensor cameras, and they are also great. I personally like to keep things simple. I don't want to add another thing to my process. Instead, I just I buy the gear that I really want. I'm cautious about what I'm going to buy. And I really think out each purchase. And I realize I have a lot of stuff back here, and it probably seems a little callous of me to say like, oh, I really think about what I buy when I have all this stuff back here. But know that this stuff has been amassed over well over a decade, like well over a decade. So and it's what I do. My profession is not only taking photos, but also sharing as much of it as I can with all different types of gear with you all. So anyway, I guess that was my point, that I would rather think out my purchases and wait and save up for something where I don't feel like I'm compromising anywhere. Anyway, if any of you, though, do have like a speed booster and you really like it and you feel like it works really well for you, let us know down in the comments below. Okay, next question is from Mancho. Hi, I'm from Puerto Rico. Hello. I currently own a Nikon D3300 and looking to upgrade it. I already have Nikon 35mm f1.8 and Sigma 17 to 55 f2.8. I'm thinking about a D7200 because of its autofocus and dual SD card, but I also like D5500 because of its flip out and touch screen. Which one would you recommend? I would use it for both photography and videos. Thanks. Honestly, I would say my initial reaction is to stick with the D3300. I feel like if you aren't really sure about which of the benefits you want in your camera body, autofocus and dual SD card or flip out and touch screen, that kind of tells me that you don't really need any of those features. I suspect that you're just kind of thinking they'd be nice to have. And I mean, by all means, if you just want a new camera, go for it. But it is a lot of money to spend if you aren't really sure what you want at this point. If I'm right, and that you're just kind of like, oh, I just kind of want something new, you may want to look into new lenses instead of a new camera body. It can be a less expensive proposition, and it can refresh things for you. And, you can expand in your photography that way instead of with a new body. Anyway, that's what I was thinking. So everyone, that is it for today. Thank you to those of you that asked questions. You will be seeing part 3 soon, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notifications, or follow me on social media. Links to those are down below. I will be back later this week too with this month's photography theme. So I'm excited about that, and I hope you are too. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.